All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining us at our spring board meeting. And I didn't think the first real day of spring would come this late, but certainly a beautiful day to have it. Just a reminder that we're going to be recording this, and it will be shared in our next board digest. I would like to open the meeting with a land acknowledgement. The University of Washington acknowledges the Coast Salish peoples of this land, the land which touches the shared waters of all tribes and bands within the Suquamish, Tulalip, and Muckleshoot nations. In today's meeting, we'll hear from President Kause in our Insider's Corner, conduct board business, discuss UW business, learn from leaders in the new field of computational ophthalmology who are pioneering non-invasive ways to identify disease. And backed by popular demand, we'll hear from 5 students about their research in 3-minute pitch-style competition called 3-Minute Thesis, where you'll all have an opportunity to cast your vote. It's like Shark Tank. This has always been a board favorite, and I'm sure it'll be fun again. I would like to extend a warm welcome to our invited guests who are joining us this afternoon, including our faculty and students from the Graduate School and UW Medicine. And now some really exciting news. I'm pleased to share that the Gates Volunteer Service Award Committee, led by co-chairs Molly Nordstrom and Brooke Simpson, have met, deliberated, and selected our GVSA recipient for 2023. This year's recipients are Dan and Pam Beatty. It's probably the best day as chair of the foundation when you get to call the winners of this great award. And Susan Brotman, who are close friends of the Beattys, she also helped, and that made it extra special, and they're very appreciative. While most widely recognized as co-founders of the Brotman Beatty Institute, Dan and Pam are longtime volunteers and supporters across this institution in many, many areas. As an aside to those of you contemplating a run at my position, again, this is the pinnacle of it. It's really making the call. So truly an honor for them, and we'll be celebrating them, of course, at our gala this fall. We're changing things up a little bit in this meeting as we previewed. So we usually have our spring social Thursday night, board meeting Friday morning. We've combined them, board meeting this afternoon, followed by the social. And so we're hoping that will allow more of you to participate. We know some of you have other conflicts that you need to attend to, including, I believe, our president, who has some important university business. We're also going to switch things up in that we usually have our Insider's Corner at the tail end of our board meeting. This year, we're going to do it up front. So I'm pleased to introduce President Kause to come up, and we'll do Insider's Corner. And Susan Bevan will serve as our moderator.
Good afternoon. My notes actually said good morning, but good afternoon. I'm excited to be moderating today's Insider's Corner to welcome President Kause. I'm particularly happy to be up here with her because we share another place we like to go, the San Juan Islands.
That's right.
We've even met each other on the ferry on occasion.
That's true, absolutely.
Yeah, where I just was last weekend, where it was not nearly as beautiful as it's going to be this weekend. So wish I was going back. I wish you were too. Yeah.
Hey, well, as long as the fairy gods keep, working, we're happy.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, after what happens. Anyhow, so our first question has to do with the legislative session. And I know that Regents will be discussing this later on in today's meeting. But what has happened in this last session that you're particularly pleased about?
Well, I think as Susan mentioned, you're going to get much more of a fine-grained blow from David Zeke, But overall, I think that there was, a lot of good here. And I want to thank all of you that were involved in being out there and advocating for the University of Washington. It made a difference. The feeling I was out there a number of times. A number of you may have been out there as well. And the feeling and the positive feeling there is for the University of Washington is very real. And I think, sometimes it feels like, step by step, we really are getting more positive outcomes. A few years ago, you'd leave, kind of feeling, particularly beat up. Some of the things that went particularly well, we had a really, really strong capital budget. And that really is important because, as much as, our people are more important than our buildings, but our buildings are there to house our people and to make sure that they can do their best work. And, we really are going to be able to move forward in some of the areas of health sciences. I know that many of you are particularly attached to the Shell House because of, perfect timing in terms of the history, and we did get some money for that, and the capital budget was really, really strong. There were some real highlights in the operating budget as well. In particular, we really got a lifeline for UW-Medicine and for our health, for the healthcare system. I mean, we were at a point where I can usually say with a straight face, when people are asking me for budget issues, well, okay, you have to delay that, but nobody's going to die. That was not the situation we were in terms of our budget for our hospitals. We were really going to have to make decisions that were going to impact people's lives, and we got a lifeline. And, it's not, a long-term fix. It's a fix for the next couple of years, but it gives us some time to then do the work that we need to do and to advocate more, in the federal government, et cetera. So that was really, really good. Now, those of you that know me know that, I'm the kind of person that, whenever I got my teaching evals, no matter how high it is, I'd focus on, but that kid didn't like me. And so, there's a few things that do stick in my craw, and, I'll be honest about that. It's inexplicable to me, quite frankly, that they didn't fund the RIDE program, which is our dentistry program on the East Side. It is a very, very important program, and, sometimes people don't get it, but dental health is health. It makes a difference to our health. So we're going to have to go back and fight for it. We have 509 Day in Spokane. We're going to have a student from the RIDE program talk, and we're going to start working on building back the energy because, we'll go back for it. And, often, quite frankly, I've been here long enough to know that sometimes, it does take a second and a third go around to get what we need. So we haven't given up, but that was disappointing. And then also, I'll be honest, really, really, really disappointing was the fund split. We've been really fighting to get the legislature to fund more of our raises. I mean, it's important because, as you know, you have to pay your people well. And we did get a bump up from 58 to 60%. And we were really looking for a 2/3 split, and that will make it very hard. We were hoping to be able to give our faculty and professional staff higher raises. And quite frankly, what really sticks in my craw is that despite the fact the University of Washington serves more Washington State students than any other university in the state. We are more in demand by Washington State students than any other university in the state. On the Seattle campus, we are the only campus in the entire state that is fully enrolled, and we got a lower fund split than anybody else. And it feels like, you're getting punished for your success, and as we'll talk about later, we've had to turn down some incredibly good students, and we'd like to be able to expand and provide more education to Washington State students. So we have to go back and we have to make our case. And quite frankly, part of what's difficult, I was looking at our COP, our Council of Presidents office, put out some numbers that we all saw. And when you look at the number for University of Washington, it looks like we got more money than everybody else, because we did get more dollars than anybody else. But first of all, half of us is a healthcare system. And some of this was money for raises for doctors, and that, I'm not talking about the School of Medicine, but I'm talking about the hospital system. And so the number, and we are bigger and we serve more students, so the dollar amount seems quite big, and so there's a tendency, if we did all this for the University of Washington, but they forget in terms of percentages. So again, we have to go back, we have to make our case, we have to go back together, but I want to really say, we have been making steady progress, which was not the situation we were in, a decade ago. We've been making steady progress, and we will continue to make steady progress together. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Again, I'm trying to look at things from a broader perspective, and from a broader perspective, we have a lot of people. I have everyone here to thank, and we have a lot of legislators to thank who really went to bat for us. So overall, we have some more work to do, but we did some really good work together, so thank you.
Good. Well, there was a segue in there to the next question, which is, with admissions offers having gone out several weeks ago and decision day coming up very soon, how are you feeling about the UW's admissions at a time when we're hearing about declines in applications and enrollments all over the United States?
Again, I think that, I want to be clear that I think that Bothell and Tacoma are hurting some, just like every other. Everybody is under-enrolled. I think things are really going to turn around there as they are building housing, that first-year students, because I've talked to a number of people on the phone, and it's like, well, but my kid wants to live on campus, et cetera, and Bothell's housing is coming on board now. We'll be seeing Tacoma bring some housing on campus, and I'm really very confident that things will turn around there, but there's still some hurt there. But on the Seattle campus, oh my gosh, 62,000 applications. 62,000. I went back to look at the history because I was curious. Okay, in 2006, to put things in context, we had 16,000 applications. From 16,000 to 62,000 in a 20-year period. A decade ago, we had 30,000 applications. So we've doubled the number of applications. And, quite frankly, I think people recognize quality. And that is what they are gravitating towards. I was there on student admission day 2 weeks ago, and it was so exciting. We were over in Heck Ed, Alaska Arena, and there were over 6,000 attendees, more than 500 students and their parents, et cetera. And it was just so much fun. I can't tell you how much fun it was. And the number of students, I was walking around campus, and I had a number of students who told me that day, this is where I'm coming. I think it was the Dubs effect, but I'll take a little bit of credit. We do have the nicest mascot in the state, let's be frank. But what was really fun was just the palpable excitement. I was talking to a young woman who was, she came up to me because, she's thinking about psychology, et cetera, and she'd been accepted to a very high-quality private school in the state with a fair deal of financial aid, as well as to Northwestern with financial aid. And she had been, and then, she came, she was admitted student, and we talked a little bit about some of the work, and I said, I'm coming here. And then she emailed me to make sure that I knew she was coming here. And I said I talked to her a little bit about the kind of work she wanted to do. And it was just incredibly exciting. And so, we can't wait to get the final numbers, but they're going to be good. And we're going to have a great class.
Don't you just love that enthusiasm for kids? I think it's great.
The thing, though, that I also want to point out, because I'm sure that some of you are hearing it, there are some great kids that didn't get in. And part of that is because we don't have, we're not going to start taking 62,000 freshmen. And so, we've got a class of about 7,000 or so. We have been, I want to be clear, we have more than 1,000 more Washington State students at the University of Washington than we did a decade ago. And to put that in perspective, that's, Evergreen has, 2,000 students. So we've grown by half an Evergreen. And most of that has been in the STEM fields. So it's not, but, we can't, we can't just grow and grow and grow, and Bothell and Tacoma have been growing, and that's fabulous, but we really can't take everybody. The other thing that we started doing differently, and so some of you might have been hearing particularly about we always turn down some incredible students, but from some amazing, amazing students, and you're going, how is one of the things that we did, because we wanted, again, to be very transparent and very open with students, is we had them, we have a number of constrained majors. We have a number of majors where we simply don't have room for everybody that wants to major in that major. So computer science, and by the way, we did get money to expand computer science, which is great. Our engineering majors, applied math, business administration. We have a number of majors that students really want where we don't have that much room. And so this year we asked students what major they wanted to be in terms of the constrained majors. And then we asked them, if you can't get into that major, do you still want to be considered? And so there were some students who in other years would have gotten in, but then would have found out there's no way they're going to get into the major, which is not a good situation for them and not fair for them. We were, again, if you're not willing to look further than that, they didn't get in. And so that added to the stories that I'm sure you've all heard of amazing students that we would love to have here. But I want to be clear, I take zero pleasure in turning down some of these great students. There's some places that brag about all the students they turn down. It's sad. It's always bittersweet for me when we put out admissions, because I know that there's some great students that didn't get in. They have great options. Like I say, I talked to a number of those students about Bothell and Tacoma. Some of them are going to go there and they're going to have a great time. Some of you may remember Dealey Barisha, one of our student regents, who went to Bothell because he didn't get into UW and loved it there. His little brother is going to Bothell as his first choice, and I think that also that now that they're going to have more housing options, that'll make a big difference as well, particularly. Part of what's hurting in Bothell and Tacoma is the steep drop in community colleges, and they were started as transfer campuses. They're more than that now, but they're still more dependent on transfers than we are. And quite frankly, if we grew too much, all the other universities would hate us if they don't hate us already. Because, they are struggling. Yes, exactly. No, it is, it's hard out there. Everything that you're reading about college applications being down is absolutely true, not just in our state, but around the country. And we really are one of those schools that's an exception, and not a lot of public universities are, but I think it's partly because the word is out that we are an amazing university.
Okay. So you've also talked to this group in the past about university initiatives. Yes, yes. As a framework for creating and accelerating the public good. So I want to ask you what's new with regard to these initiatives, and how do you feel that this approach is working? I expect you'll be talking about the exciting new climate change project in New York.
I will.
City. And I want to say that as a Connecticut resident, I'd be happy to host a dinner at my house if we decide to have a meeting out there.
Okay. I've got some family in Connecticut, so, I'll be there. No, it's, I really think that is part of why the attraction to the University of Washington. A lot of places really are very siloed. And we are really working very hard, both educationally, through things like entrepreneurship minors and data analysis minors, et cetera, and in terms of research, to really use the strengths of the expansiveness of our campus to be able to really tackle these complicated, complex, multi-layered problems. You mentioned the New York Climate Exchange. We are a founding partner there, and that is going to be really, really exciting. They're building a fabulous center on Governor's Island. It's going to make us bi-coastal, it's a partnership. We've got Georgia Tech that's a partner. It's SUNY Stony. This is going to be absolutely amazing. But to give you an example, I mean, climate is one of those things that is existential for our young people, probably is for many of us as well. I mean, I'm sure that you're hearing it as well. Some students are saying, I'm not going to have children because I'm worried about, about what the world is going to be like. But the thing about climate is, yes, it's about, glaciers that are going to disappear. It's about land it's about animals that are going to disappear. But it's also about human health. I mean, every summer, those of us that have some lung issues, we get worried about, I had masks before COVID because I had bought masks because of the smoke, because I do have some lung issues. So it's about health. But also what's happening is it's creating huge immigration issues because some people on some islands are having to leave now. I mean, you've all seen TV what's happening in Sudan. And, we have some cities that are going to be in horrible shape very, very soon. And so then you have those immigration problems that are leading to political problems because you have, and so these things are complicated. And to really deal with them, to deal with the impacts of climate change, yes, we need people from the College of the Environment, and they are leading. But we need people from political science. We need people from the Jackson School. We need people from UW-Medicine. We need to bring together the full university. And guess what? We need people in our arts to help us explain what's going on and to help, advertise what's going on and to help us think about. There's some wonderful plays that have been written about this. And so that's what the University Initiatives is all about, is how do we bring people together across all those disciplines out there to really put their heads together and look at these problems in the fully multidimensional way. And part of what's so important about that is that right now we are so politically polarized. I mean, I don't have to tell you that. And there are some people that when you talk about the importance of climate change, they say, oh yeah, it's you Seattleites, who are coming, out to the Olympic Peninsula in your Birkenstocks, and you care more about the owls than you care about our children. And you're taking away our jobs, etc. But now when you talk to them about the smoke in the summer, that is all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, yeah, I do want to see something around that. That what's so exciting about looking at things multidimensionally is you can really talk to people where they're at, because there may be parts of, sometimes these issues are very stereotyped, and we can really look at them in a complete and full manner and talk to people where they're at. And we're also able to, guess what? If we want them to stop logging, we have to think about other jobs that we can create. And we can deal with that as well. How do we educate people that are no longer going to be doing that, are going to be doing something else? And so that's what's exciting to me, is that we really are, anyone who gives you a simple answer to anything, it's wrong. That's all I can tell you. And so we can look at things. One of the areas that I'm real excited about, you wouldn't be surprised given, my own background, is the work that we're doing on behavioral health, which is health. That really is health. And looking at that and how it relates to addiction, which is a real problem. How it relates to housing, which is a real problem. How it relates to schooling. I can tell you that with our students, their top demands in terms of funding are really around mental health and disabilities. Our students, when they drop out, and we have very few that do, we do a great job of retaining our students, but those students that do, it's usually not because they're struggling academically. It often is because they're having trouble with depression or anxiety, etc. And so again, we're looking at behavioral health in the fullness of the word, not just in terms of, yes, it's about, we need a workforce, there is no question, but also, what are the positive things? How can we give people the kind of coping skills so that they can deal with issues, more directly? I mean, I am so incredibly excited about the work that we are doing in these initiatives, the way that, and you know, I mean, one of the reasons why I won't be here for dinner is we're interviewing, you know, candidates for our provost position. And I can tell you that people are attracted. I mean, you know, I was told initially, don't be surprised, you're not going to get very many applicants, you're going to struggle. We have terrific applicants, and part of it is because we are doing this here, and this is very hard to do at other universities. So, I mean, I could go on and on and on, but it is just so exciting. And like I say, and I think that, you know, we're going to take this down to not just research, but also to education. And how do we allow our students to really develop that broad portfolio that's going to allow them to do well in the world? Because as we speak, jobs are changing, and they need to be prepared for not only their first job, but their second, third, and fourth, and how to make those shifts. And looking at things and their complexity, bringing disciplines together will do exactly that. I'm sorry if I sound like I'm preaching, but I just can't tell. I mean, I can't tell you. I mean, this is the stuff that, you know, that on those days that, you know, that, I mean, no one, I honestly don't think anyone's doing it as well as we are.
Yeah, I don't think she's a preacher. She's a cheerleader.
No, I mean, no, I'm not, you know, this is not braggadocio. It's not about me. It really is about our deans. It really is about our faculty. And it's about the excitement that they get feeding off each other.
Okay, now I think we have time for some questions. And Patrick, I guess you're just going to flag me when we're done. Okay.
Yeah.
Would like to make one comment, and you know, you're up there preaching about the University of Washington, and I look around, and there are smiles all around. We love it. We love to hear about it. We love your enthusiasm when you talk about it, and we know that that emanates through our university. So I just want to say thank you.
Well, you know, thank you. One of the really fun things I got to do today is I guest lectured in a class. It's a class, it's Religion 1.0 something. It's by Jim Wellman, and it's about a meaningful life. And, you know, the students were asking me really good questions and watching them really think about. I mean, you know, what's really exciting about students today, and, you know, different generations are a little bit different, but the group of students that we have, by and large, I think that I'm looking at your generation, is really interested in making a difference in the world. You can really see it. It's not that you don't want jobs. It's not that you don't want to be able to pay your rent. It's not that you don't want to get out of your parents' basements or whatever. But I'm saying that you really want to do, and you're aware of the fact that the world needs you. And it's just, and that's just so energizing. You know, I mean, you watch the news and you go like this. And then you look at those faces and you have conversations, and the future looks bright, and it makes all the difference.
I too appreciate your positive enthusiasm, and was very excited to hear that CS is getting some expanded funding. That's
Yes.
really great.
Yes.
My question is, with AI suddenly everywhere, how are you and the UW faculty thinking about this technology and what it will mean for teaching and learning?
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm on the board of AI2, which is the Allens Institute Center on AI, and we just had a meeting yesterday, and we're talking about AI, and it seems like everyone everywhere is talking about AI almost nonstop. And, you know, I mean, first of all, there's a lot of fear around it, and I think it's important. I mean, part of what's so great about being interdisciplinary is there are some ethical issues. Guess what? Humans aren't perfect, and and machines are emulating some of our biases and some of our problems. And so, you know, I'm not trying to say that there's not some reasons to be scared and to be worried, et cetera. But at the same time, we're not going to put it in a box and make it go away. And so the idea of somehow it's going to be banned or whatever, perhaps we can slow some things down, et cetera. But what we're going to need to do is, how do we help our faculty and how do we help our students use it for the good? I can't think of any tool out there that can't be used in bad ways. And AI, no doubt, the more powerful the tool, the more powerfully it can be used in bad ways. So how do we really learn how to use the power of AI in positive ways? And how do we let this actually influence our teaching and our learning in positive ways? What's really nice is we really have some, real expertise here. We really are trying to bring together people across disciplines, across ethics, across philosophy, across art, literature, education, et cetera, together to really start thinking about how can we use it in positive ways. Penelope Moon, who's the director of our Center for Teaching and Learning, is really doing some interesting work in this area, trying to help faculty, because of course faculty are concerned, how do I test students and how do I make sure that their assignments are actually written by a real person, et cetera, et cetera. And, she's really working to make sure that people are connecting their assignments to lived experience, less on fact and memorization, and focusing more on teamwork. How do you bring things together? How do you synthesize information so that they can use ChatGPT for their homework, but they are also adding to it and synthesizing. Our Center for Teaching and Learning offers some guidelines and strategies for how to be able to tell if a chatbot has been used for an assignment, if that is an issue. But again, I think it's important to remember, I can remember a time when, for an assignment, I had to go to the library and, go in the stacks and look up journal articles, et cetera. And it seemed like cheating to be able to, Google or Bing or whatever, and get these articles online and pull stuff together. And it's wonderful. I mean, it makes things, and I think that AI can be very positive that way, especially when it comes to repetitive tasks and to bringing things together. But even with even before ChatGPT, when you got things off the internet, it was important to be able to tell, is this good information or is this bad information? Because there's a lot of bad information out there. And so you can't just use this AI without really bringing some rigor to it and without really being able to use it as maybe an outline, but not a final. But we're still, we're still in the early stages. We really have some good people that are giving us guidance. My hunch is that next year we'll be having a different conversation about how we're using AI, but I think we need to look at it as a tool that hopefully will cut down on some work that isn't all that exciting to do and will help us do our good work more quickly and better.
Hello, President Kelsey, and as well, I share the sentiment. Thank you for the positivity. Thank you for the outlook, especially as someone who's worked in admissions for a while. Yeah, it's always something to think about. To somewhat change the subject, I'm curious what changes has the Division of Campus and Community Safety implemented really to address the safety concerns around campus, on campus, especially considering that it's places where I work, where faculty works, where staff works, where even some of our board members live and learn. And yeah, I'm just curious if you could give us some information on that.
Yeah, no, there's no question that this is, there's a lot of reasons why I'm glad that we got to daylight saving time and it's light out till late. But one of the reasons is, you get into this, chicken and egg issue where if people aren't out there in the community, then it brings in crime. But then if crime's out there, people don't want to go out, you get into that issue. And I'm really very hopeful that now that it's light out, that people can go out to dinner in the U District and feel comfortable doing that, that we'll begin to see more and more of that, good feeling, piggybacking on each other. But I want you to know that I absolutely see it in my own building and with the staff that works in my building, that particularly the staff that's here early in the morning, the staff that's here late at night, et cetera, that, it's scary when you walk in and there's graffiti all over the doors. We've had worse than graffiti in some of our parking lots, et cetera. And there has been crime in the U District, although, I think that, and so, we really, first of all, I want to be very clear that we support Mayor Harrell, Husky Mayor Harrell's efforts to reduce crime throughout Seattle. And I really think that he is taking a very, very good approach where he's listening very much, and he very much understands some of the fears in the community that come from, we do need to reform the way that policing happens, but at the same time understanding that we need to keep people safe and that an abolitionist approach is not the right approach to do this. And so we're very much, along those lines. As you know, we created a new VP position of campus safety, and that's partly that, I want someone who wakes up in the morning thinking of safety first. And not just in terms of, the kind of safety that you're talking about, which is what I will focus on, has to do with the violent, incidents on this campus, but we also want someone that's thinking about what happens if there's an earthquake, what happens if there's a flood, because, with some of those issues, it's not when, it's not if, it's when. And so we need to be prepared for those. And so our new structure really allows for someone to really focus on that, focus on coordination with the city, with communication, with bringing people together. And it really allows for quicker problem solving. Some of you know that Sally Clark has been in this position, and she is fabulous in this position because she does understand. She was on city council. She has deep relationships and partners with people in the U District. And it's been really wonderful to watch the way in which when we do have incidents happening, the police can deal with the specifics of the incident. And she can deal with things like, let's make sure we contact the family. Let's make sure we're communicating with the police so that there can be a really full response rather than, someone trying to get someone to the hospital or to look for, while the other. And so we also are, and we are putting more money into this. Because I think we have to. In the U District, we're paying for extra ambassador hours, and those are individuals that they're not armed, but they're walking the U District, and they're very clearly have vests so you can tell them, so they help make sure that things don't happen, as well as we've added capacity and coverage to the Husky Night Walk and the Husky Night Ride shuttle. And again, that's one of the reasons why I'm excited about it being daylight longer, is that people will feel more comfortable being out. And we also have added staffing to the parking lots that have been particular spots where people have stated. Like I say, I'm very, very hopeful and very, very positive. If you were here for the cherry blossoms, campus is alive, it's vibrant, and I think that will also help to, cut down on crime. So, we're working at it. We're not 100% there, but I want you to know that it is something. I may not think about it all the time, but Sally does.
Well, I know there have been a lot of jurisdictional issues between the Seattle police and the campus police. And we have a lot of students that live just off campus, the Greek community, et cetera. And I know that there's been a tension between the authorities on each side.
Yeah, and that's something that, Sally has been very helpful in helping to navigate. Again, we are, there are areas that are off campus that we don't want to start patrolling, so to speak, because then we start getting more. But when something happens that is, in some cases, one of our buildings, if it's in one of our dorms, et cetera, they contact us immediately, and we can come in and be the face and help them sort through that problem.
I think Patrick's giving us the high sign.
Oh.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, President Kelsey. It's always a treat.
Thank you.
Thank you, President Kelsey, and thank you, Susan, for moderating. And President Kelsey, it's not preaching, it's evangelizing. You're literally spreading good news.
No, I think sometimes we get a little spoiled here, and I love it that we're a little spoiled, but universities are hurting around the country. They really, really are hurting. It's a tough time, and it's just so and it's not that we don't have our tension points and that we don't have, but But, the exciting work that's happening here and the way that our whole community is coming together is just fabulous. And yeah, I'm excited.
And President Kelsey, please tell the provost candidate that this is just a typical Seattle weather day today.
No question.
So last night I did try out Chat GPT, and I asked it, is there anything interesting and exciting going on at the UW these days? And here's what I learned. Founders Hall was just awarded the American Institute of Architects 2023 Education Facility Design Award of Merit. The result of this latest collaboration is the first building on the UW campus to be built of mass timber, a composite hardwood that is sourced and manufactured sustainably and continues to sequester excess carbon from the atmosphere indefinitely. Many of you may be familiar with the new building, given that we had our last meeting there. The Jacob Lawrence Gallery just reopened this week as part of the larger Arts Capital campaign, which also includes renovations to the music building. These critical updates and enhancements to our art spaces reflect the university's deep commitment to the role of arts on campus and beyond. Provost Richards and Dean Harris committed to making essential improvements to a number of key art spaces, including new and important upgrades for the Jacob Lawrence Gallery and Ceramic Studio that also involve new locations and visibility in the current building. This is the first capital renovation of the School of Art has undertaken since the 1950s, and it will greatly improve and enhance the learning environment for over 550 students who take classes in this historic building and the campus community who we hope will engage in our spaces in new and meaningful ways. Many of you joined us last winter for a board social at the gallery, and thank you for the ongoing support of the arts. Please stop by for a visit if you get a chance. Also, this year's Husky 100 was announced this week. The purpose of this program is to recognize the outstanding work and achievements of students on all three UW campuses who are making the most of their Husky experience. The Husky 100 include 100 undergraduates and graduate students who have founded startups, created artwork, served as mentors, conducted research, and advocated for social justice. They work on our campuses and in our communities. They are leaders and innovators. Next, U.S. Secretary of Education, Dr. Miguel Cardona will deliver the commencement address for the Seattle campus. We look forward to announcing the commencement speakers for UW-Bothell and UW-Tacoma in the coming weeks. We also have some thank yous to leadership. Azita Amami, the Robert G. and Jean A. Reed Executive Dean of the School of Nursing, is going to Yale University, and we thank her for her service. Eddie Uhara, Balmer Endowed Dean of the School of Social Work, is retiring from the deanship and returning to the faculty. Sylvia Wolf, the John S. Benke Director, the Henry Art Gallery, is retiring this spring. Let's give them a hand. New grandmother Molly Nordstrom is traveling, so I'm going to cover her consent agenda. Turning to the Foundation Board, as a reminder, our voting procedures occur online with our platform Board Effect. All at-large representative directors for life and ex officio directors have full voting rights. If you see a notification asking for your vote, please log in and vote. The consent agenda was sent to the board on Friday, April 21st via Board Effect. Thank you to everyone who submitted your votes. We received a quorum and the consent agenda has been approved. Next, some more kudos for our directors. Madrian White held the distinguished honor of serving as head woman for the UW's First Nations Powwow, which was held on April the 8th. Vivian Phillips will be awarded an honorary doctorate degree from Cornish College of the Arts at its May 9th commencement ceremony. And Dave Franke will be awarded an honorary doctorate degree from Northern Arizona University on May the 13th. There's more. President Biden has appointed our own Kim Shirley to the President's Committee on the Arts and the Humanities. The committee engages the nation's artists, humanities scholars, and cultural heritage practitioners to promote excellence in the arts, humanities, and museum and library services. So let's give them a round of applause. As always, I feel like an underachiever showing up at these things. Husky Giving Day. So thanks so much for all of your support that you displayed on Husky Giving Day. I've got some stats. You helped the university raise more than $2.4 million on Husky Giving Day. And the advancement staff wanted me to remind you that they're still accepting donations for Husky Giving Day, even after Husky Giving Day. We had over 7,600 individuals who gave money on Husky Giving Day, and 1,000 first-time donators to the fund, so that was great. Your generosity has had an immediate impact on the well-being of student programs and initiatives across our university. Our greatest strength truly is our community, and thank you again for helping to make a difference at the UW. Now, future visioning update. The future is coming into focus. We're getting closer to it, I think. As outcome of our board's future visioning work, we're updating the charges of several committees and standing up some new ones. Work is underway to develop charters, and recruitment for committee leadership and membership will take place over the spring and summer. For those of you who have expressed interest in a committee to either Lou or me, we will be reaching out. And in fact, this past week, Mary and I had a number of conversations with members of this group on the new committee structures and leadership, so raise your hand, lots more opportunities to participate. Now I'd like to call on Board Treasurer Lisa Simoni for her report.
Thank you, Patrick. Happy to give Patrick a break. So as a 501c3 organization, the UW Foundation is required to file Form 990 to IRS annually. Our partner at KPMG prepared the 2021 Form 990. As one of our delegate responsibilities, the Foundation Board Executive Committee reviewed and approved the 990 when they last met on March 18th, and it has been filed with the IRS. The 990 was subsequently emailed to the whole board on March 17th and is also included in the spring board meeting consent agenda, which was emailed to the whole board on April 21st. And some of the highlights is that the total contribution and grants to the UW Foundation were $209.8 million per the audited financial statements, $565,000 of which was used for foundation expenses. The remaining $209.2 million is revenue for tax purposes. The deficit of $9.4 million is the result of timing differences of grant receivables accrued in fiscal year 21 that were expended in fiscal year 22. And that is the end of my report. And I promised Julie I would say exactly those words, so I did. So thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. No one can make a Form 990 sing quite like you. That's tough duty. So now on to UW business. It's our pleasure to have Regent David Zeke here to give us a report on what's going on at the Board of Regents. I think he's somewhere close by. There he is.
This is going to be longer than Lisa's report, but not a lot longer. First, I want to thank all of you for all that you do for the university. You support the UW in so many ways, through engagement, through generosity, through advocacy, and it's critical to the work that we do, and so I'm grateful for that, and on behalf of the board, wanted to thank you as a group. Today, I want to share a little more about some of the outcomes of the recent legislative session and some of the areas of regental focus this year. As a sign of our partnership in legislative advocacy to benefit the university, the Regents look forward this year to welcoming a foundation board member onto our Governmental Affairs Advisory Committee. That's the group that regularly lobbies the legislature to obtain some of the things we need to obtain or to make some points that we need to make with the legislature. So I appreciate that interest and advocacy and look forward to working with the Foundation Board in that regard. At our last Regents meeting, in the chair's report, I reflected on the role of Regents as opposed to the administration of the university, and I quoted Ken Dayton, who was the chair of the Dayton stores in Minneapolis, which became Target. His father started the chain of Dayton stores shortly after World War II from almost nothing, from a very small retail goods store into Target. And Ken Dayton had this to say about the role of governance, that governance is governance and governance is not management. As a board member, you have to see to it that the organization is well managed rather than managing it yourself. So Regents don't run the university, as most of you know. Rather, our job is to support, challenge, and hold the UW's leadership accountable in pursuit of our public mission. As we do this, we're headed into budget season right now. In May, the operating and capital budgets are presented for the board's consideration and input, and in June, they come back to us for approval. Despite strong support from the legislature this session, long-term consequences of the COVID-19 pandemic and the subsequent inflation make this a challenging time for our finances and for the work that budgets must do. On the positive side, the Core Academy is strong. In fact, it's more than strong. The UW's local and global prominence continues to rise. Our faculty, our staff, and students produce outstanding and impactful teaching and service, as is evidenced from our leading role in identifying, tracking, and responding to the pandemic, to highlight just one area. You'll hear later this afternoon from graduate students and faculty in medicine and engineering whose work is truly world-changing. Ensuring adequate resources to support and share this academic excellence is the Regents' principal goal. So thank you for your contributions to that end. Secondly, as Anamari said, more students than ever want to attend the UW. The Seattle campus of the UW is the only state institution of higher education where enrollment is rising rather than declining. With additional state investment, we'll have the opportunity to grow capacity where demand is greatest, especially on the Bothell and Tacoma campuses, and through our growing partnerships in Spokane and throughout the state. The fruitful efforts of our legislative team, led by Randy Hodgins, who's here, and Joe Dacca, and Ian Goodhue for UW Medicine, is amplified by the volunteer army that the UW Alumni Association's UW Impact effort provides. Many of you participate in that, and we're especially grateful for that. The result, as Anamari said a moment ago, is a favorable budget. The legislature approved funding in a number of important areas. And while, as she suggested, it wasn't all we wanted, it did authorize 60% funding split for a 4% wage raise for faculty and professional staff. That's crucial, obviously, in recruiting and retaining outstanding faculty and staff. The legislature also supported growing a local diverse STEM workforce on all three campuses, again, as she mentioned, including significant support to the Allen School of Computer Science and Engineering. The legislature also appropriated significant support for capital projects, including Anderson Hall, the renovation at Anderson Hall, which is the School for Environmental and Forest Sciences, Phase 2 of Intellectual House, the Native American Center, Gathering Center, land acquisition and preparation for future growth at UW-Tacoma, the clean energy test beds, the Rainier Valley Early Learning Campus, and the restoration of the ASUW Shell House, which is just now 100 years old. With respect to medicine, the legislature funded a number of important strategies for supporting its crucial safety net role, including $50 million this year and $100 million next year for hospital support to help bridge until the current turnaround program, which is called Mission Forward, yields full results. The legislature also funded a program to ameliorate the cost of difficult-to-discharge patients with a pilot program to free up beds at Harborview. It also funded many requests related to the behavioral health teaching facility, with the exception of cost-based reimbursement, and it appropriated funds for capital projects related to UW Medicine, such as the Magnuson T-Wing renovation and improvements to UW Medical Center Northwest. But even with the infusion of that support, the Regents and UW leaders have significant planning and budgeting work to do on behalf of the long-term financial health of this great enterprise. As with any business, weathering today's economic turbulence, the university's expenses are escalating faster than revenues. Our options to mitigate those factors are limited, with increases to residential undergraduate tuition, for instance, restricted by statute to a formula that yields only 2 to 2.5% increases each year, which is obviously well below today's current inflation. It's a difficult time nationally and locally for hospitals, obviously. UW-Medicine has grown into both a safety net for this city and for our state, and it's a world leader in the highest quality of clinical care. This extraordinary combination is not sustainable without significant additional public investment. Unprecedented and as yet unsolved financial challenges require us to reimagine how we deliver this essential public service. As at other hospitals and clinics, UW-Medicine's expenses have risen faster than revenues, due largely to inflation, to post-COVID collective bargaining agreements to pay for nurses who are in shorter supply than they've ever been, also because of fixed or low reimbursement rates and the delay or cancellation of essential revenue-producing non-emergency care during the pandemic. There are also structural challenges that we face in medicine. Up to 150 beds at Harborview are occupied by patients who don't need medical care that a hospital provides. The lack of skilled nursing facilities and beds there to take on the discharge of these patients means that that hospital has operated as high as 150% capacity, and it's more than 25% full of patients who have no medical need for hospitalization, whose care is reimbursed at 17 cents on the dollar, and who prevent the admission of patients with medical need for hospitalization. We sincerely hope that pilot program that the legislature funded succeeds for all of us. In the face of these cost escalations and structural challenges, UW-Medicine has not reduced the range or quantity of services it offers the public in order to save costs. That's unlike many private hospitals and clinics. However, should adequate state support not be forthcoming, we will have to consider the possibility of reducing some of the services we provide. Finally, and on a happier note, some of you have been following the presentations of the provost candidates, which Anamari mentioned. They're wrapping up this week. The candidate pool is truly outstanding, and we're grateful for President Cauce's thoughtful approach to a hire that will likely outlast her if we ever allow her to retire. The search for the president of UW-Medicine hospitals and clinics to replace Lisa Brandenburg is also ongoing at the moment. I want to conclude by just thanking you again for your generosity in so many areas, your support, your advocacy, your engagement. Keep the UW an incredible force for public good, whose impact guarantees we will always be the university for Washington. Thank you.
Without further ado, first of all, thank you, Regent Zeke. Great report. And without further ado, Mary Gresh will give us an update on university advancement. Mary?
Hi, everyone. It's wonderful to see you all. I didn't get around to the room to see all of you, and I can't wait to do so. I feel the great energy in this room. I wish the windows were open. The sunshine is just, how can you not be optimistic about the world when you see that sunshine out there? It's just wonderful. I want to thank Regent Zeke for such a comprehensive set of remarks around our legislative session and the results of that. We asked Regent Zeke to join us here, the chair of the Regents, at this meeting, in our spring meeting. And we want to make that a routine part of our work here, so you all understand the complexities of what the university is seeing as our public and private resourcing of the institution work together and are so critical to the future and how we engage. So I'm just so grateful that you gave us that full download, and we see the strategy and the linkage here between our work and the work of our legislative group. And I do see Randy back there, and I know he's tired because it's been a long season, but we are great partners, and that team works really, really hard. So thank you, Randy, too. I also have to say, because I'm still stunned by it, my first part of my remarks is celebrations. And so we mentioned Molly Nordstrom has a new little grandbaby, if you don't know that, baby Blake. So exciting. Jody Green, our former chair, many of you know Jody. She has a new grandbaby, Lily. And then Susan Bevan here, you can't beat her story, delivered her grandbaby recently. So I suggest you have a conversation with Susan if you haven't yet today, because the story is incredible. And when I heard it this morning, I can't get it out of my mind. So I'm saying, we have so much to celebrate. And Susan, I celebrate you. That story, amazing. Really wonderful. And if you've had a grandbaby recently and I don't know about it, please also share that with Susan. Wonderful. So we have, the photos up there. So this is funny that I've been talking about this while there's photos here. Corinne. Thank you. We had a wonderful ad hoc informal convening of the board members who were in the desert recently during Dog Days in the Desert. Jeff and Corinne Wright hosted us. It was wonderful. It was just a time to talk about the welcoming campus strategy, which I'll talk about here just in a moment. President Kause was there. She was clearly as energized as she was today. This picture is actually kind of embarrassing me as I'm looking at it. It was this small in my script, but really wonderful convening. So thank you, Corinne. Really, really grateful for that. As part of celebrations, I want to talk about one piece of our legislative news that was so wonderful, and that was a $6 million investment in the Rainier Valley project. I see you back there, Mia. It's just wonderful. I want to talk a little bit about that so everyone understands the significance of this project and what it means to our public mission. So the College of Education has a significant fundraising effort around the Rainier Valley Early Learning Campus. As I noted, we got great news that the state legislature made an investment in this, and Mia and her team have been fundraising like mad for this project. And it's a deep community project, and they've been working really hard, and we're very close. Once built, the campus will be next to the Mount Baker Light Rail Station and co-located in the City of Seattle's affordable housing development in the Rainier Valley, bringing workforce development and early learning opportunities to the communities that need it most. It will also house the program funding that you read about recently from the Balmer Group, $38 million gift to the College of Education to transform the early learning workforce, from UW students earning bachelor's degrees and advanced degrees in early childhood to supporting working professionals seeking to enhance their career development. This combination of state support with philanthropy will have a significant impact in our community and in many children's lives. There's a greater context here. The campus will include an early childhood center that will expand early learning access to approximately 160 children each year and workforce training to hundreds of aspiring early learning educators. With the understanding, and here's the greater context, that the early stages of life set the stage for long-term behavioral health, this project represents one of the many ways that the university is addressing wellness at all stages as part of the larger emerging behavioral health initiative that many of our faculty, deans, and others are working on. So, Dean Tuan, I just want to say congratulations. You're getting so close, and we're so grateful for your work as in advancing our public mission. Thank you. We also got great news, as you heard, about the Shell House, a $3 million investment from the state legislature for that as well. We're $2 million away on that campaign. Not that I'm asking anything while I say that. And we're very, very excited about that. We're getting super close. That was a wonderful, wonderful boost of confidence. It's also a boost of confidence in front of what we know is coming very soon, which is the movie about the boys in the boat. And when that happens, we will be in front of that with a community campaign to finish off the Shell House and also to raise and amplify our rowing program here and raise money for this amazing tradition of rowing and convening and community and all the aspects that the Shell House is a metaphor for. So we hope to be doing really great work for our athletics program and for the Shell House and the community piece of that campaign. So that'll be exciting in the fall. Watch for that. You heard about Governor's Island. That's been mentioned a couple times. Is Dean Maya Tolstoy here? Are you here, Maya? She's not here yet. Am I seeing you, Maya? I can't see anything. Not here. Thanks, Renee. If you see her tonight, I'm not sure if she may still be in New York. She is on the board of the New York Climate Exchange that was noted earlier. She's been a fantastic representative for the university, and there will be many, many opportunities for our faculty, staff, and students as a part of that consortium. And Maya's leadership has been tremendous, as has been Lisa Thomas and her team who have supported that and engaged with that in supporting her. So that's very exciting. And we have something, is Kim Shirley here? Kim, are you in the room? I know she was coming today. She might be coming for dinner. I just wanted to take a moment. We talked about her appointment, but also she and John gave a tremendous gift to the city. I'm sure many of you followed that announcement about the Calder donation to the Seattle Art Museum. Even though she's not here, can we please just say that was a wonderful, wonderful contribution to our city and to so. I often get the question from, and particularly this week, Patrick and I have been having so much fun. By the way, we are 5 for 5 with all of you asking to take different roles, so we're pretty proud of ourselves. Where's Ken? Ken's been in there too. We're doing good work here. If we come calling, no, we're going to ask you something, but you're going to love it. We're often asked by our directors about opportunities to engage, and how can they do more? How can you engage more with different things that we're doing? So I wanted to just share a few opportunities for you. We'll put these out to you afterwards, and you can think about how you might engage and continue to learn more about different parts of the university, even before we're setting up some of our new structures and engaging some of our new committees. So Celebration, our annual fundraiser for the Educational Opportunity Scholarships. Ricky Hall, if he's here, he leads the charge on this. We have a board that the foundation sponsors a table for that event. It's here next month. The date, yes, May 2nd. And May 17th. We'd love to have you join us. If you don't know about these programs, this comes out of the Office of Minority Affairs and Diversity, and I can tell you it is one of the most joyful nights of the year. The students speak. There's a great celebration with videos. It's just an incredibly wonderful and inspiring event. So if you're looking to learn about more things that we do to support students in their education here at the university, we invite you to join us at our table that evening. The Boundless Impact reception on May 2nd. The theme of that reception will be the West Campus and the Welcoming Campus, including the Welcome Center, and what we're doing to develop the West Campus into this innovation and creative ecosystem through Portage Bay Crossing will be the theme. We'd love to have you join us for that event, to come and bring a friend, have them learn about the university. You'll meet a lot of your fellow donors at the university. This is technically a President's Club Gold event for donors who give $10,000 or more to the university on an annual basis, and for benefactors and laureates. Love to have you all come and learn about that and join your colleagues there. It'll be a really fun evening. And the rest of these we'll share with you. We're going to send this list to you and follow up there. I want to point to one piece of this. It's going to move into the next thing I'll talk about, which is the Public Good Case Study Focus Group. So we've been talking about the future visioning work and the different committees and aspects of that we've been standing up. And you heard President Kause talk again about university initiatives, which I know I've already talked about from the podium, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that today. But as part of our restructuring of the foundation board, we have a development committee that is emerging, and Laura Silipsky, I do see you back there, who is just this week said she was be chair of that committee next year when we stand that up. And we, as part of that, we'll be looking at university initiatives and ways to engage the board in understanding and sort of vetting for us with donors, with the community, the ideas that we're creating, and how board members can give us feedback and engage with those in charrette-style conversations. We have the first of those coming. I want to get the name of this right. It's around the initiative that we're calling something like Preparing the Civic Leaders of the Next Generation for the Public Good, and it is coming in June. If you'd like to participate in that, and an in-depth conversation with a paper to read in advance, a conversation to engage in around the public good, we'd love to have you participate in that as well. So university initiatives is all part of the next phase of our work around both campaign preparation and, again, this visioning work and university initiatives. The work of preparing for the next campaign continues. It's, again, very early pre-planning work. So I get the question frequently, and I know Lisa and Tamara and others do too. When is the next campaign starting? We're still a ways off, 2 to 3 years off. So know that this is all pre-planning work. I said to Ken this morning that our database conversion is May 2nd. You've heard us talk about how we are doing a complete database conversion. Our 25-year-old database is going to die on the finish line, and the other one will emerge, and you all know how that goes. It's going to be perfectly smooth, all right? So we've got some sustainability work, and obviously that's been a gigantic project for the team. And it's also the date of the Boundless Impact reception, so we've been joking that we'll be celebrating that night, so look out for the staff at that event. But that's sort of phase one. We get to that milestone. Now we're working toward other milestones in our campaign planning. We're doing some restructuring and development. We're investing in critical areas. One of them is UW Medicine and grateful patient work. And we're also looking at early conversations around our campaign structure. We've had 2 retreats with the Board of Deans and Chancellors. In our most recent retreat, we looked at a structure where, and again, University Initiative sort of hints at that, where our campaign will be different than in the past, where many of you have participated, of course, and been with us for a while, where our campaigns were really a campaign of campaigns, where each unit had its vision, its set of priorities, launched and worked its campaign by units. We will have this matrixed approach that makes room for the kind of university initiatives you've heard Anna-Maria describe, you heard others reference, and we can build out a structure that has both these larger ideas where we believe we can do significant transformational work as a university, and also the unit work that we know is really, really important, and certainly for you representative directors and the advisory groups to the units will lift up the other parts of the campaign. So as these conversations continue, we'll keep you posted. We'll find ways for you to engage in those conversations as we keep working forward. We'll also be having a significant conversation in the fall about our brand renewal. I think Jack was here earlier. Hi, Jack, in the back there, and Nicole Dirks. They'll be bringing our creative expression and the things that we're doing on the brand work. I think you all know, and Anna-Maria just pointed to that, as did Regent Zeke, our university reputation has done nothing but grow since our last campaign. The 62,000 applications that we're talking that have been referenced frequently here is a direct result of the fantastic faculty, staff, and students we have here who are doing incredible things, and they're talking about those things, and they are networked into communities around those things, and people see the reputation, and it's growing. The brand research that's been done recently through our marketing team shows that we really need to stay the course and really build on the brand that we have, but adjust it to directly attach and in a creative and impactful way, I'm using the word twice, to the message we've been talking about around impact. I've seen some of the early goings here. Some of it will be coming again here to you with a full conversation, but I think you'll be really pleased. Jack Martin, again, who's sitting in the back, who is now in my old role, Vice President of Marketing and Communications. Jack, will you just wave for people who don't know you? We'll be leading this with Nicole Dirks, the AVP for Brand Strategy. But we have found these sessions where you get to talk about and contemplate what the brand and what the university means to you have been some of the most engaging of the board. So I hope in the fall when you plan for our October meeting, you come knowing you'll have some fun, and you'll also get a glimpse at the positioning the university will take forward as we walk into the next year or so. I'll close this section by talking about the welcoming campus and the Welcome Center briefly, because we've talked about this here with the board. But it's important for all of you to know that the RFP for the Welcome Center is now out in market. This is a project, again, for those of you who may not have heard about it fully, where the university is building a Welcome Center, is planning to build a Welcome Center on the property across from the Burke in the bookstore parking lot. I think most people know that location, 1 block from the light rail. It will have underground parking. It will tell the magnificent story of this great public university. It will welcome prospective students and families. It will be a place for alumni and the community to gather. It'll have an auditorium. It will be a partnership with the bookstore, so there'll be retail and in the new way bookstores operate now, and will be an incredible place to both tell the university stories, put it in context, and welcome people to our campus. Many of you have said to me, I can't believe we don't have one of these already. Most campuses do. That's true, but ours is going to be one that tells the story of our great public impact. It will be one that truly gets to the gravitas of what we mean to this world, what we mean to this community, and in partnership with Seattle and the greater region. I tell you about the RFP because it went out from the bookstore and the Alumni Association. They have formed an LLC to open the RFP, which the university will join when a developer is selected, and there will be a partnership to develop the Welcome Center. This is done so we can get the creative process going with developers and other Huskies and others in the community, so we can think creatively about what the full scope of this project could look like. We have very strong interest in this RFP. Paul Rucker is somewhere here, I think. He can take questions. There you are, Paul. And if you have questions about it, but also we really want you to tell people about it. We want people to know there is an amazing opportunity here as the U District is coming back, as we're building out this West Campus side of our campus into an ecosystem, Portage Bay Crossing, where amazing things are going to happen. Some of our top research programs we're building out locations on the west side for that. You may be reading about that. So there's a lot of activity that is coming there. You can see the district changing before your eyes if you're watching those things go up. Renee Chang has been having some of her students engage on this. Some of their ideas are amazing. So we want creativity to come into this project so that when we're done with this, across from the Burke, with the light rail, looking west of our campus, it's something that really is of and for community and isn't something that we look at and we have a lot of people coming in with another, I don't know what to call it because I'm not in real estate, regular building. I don't know what I'm saying. But a building that truly represents who we are as a university and what this can mean for our campus. So tell your neighbors and friends. Another thing you can do, talk to Paul Rucker if you have ideas about ways that you can think about engaging. And we're really looking forward to keeping you posted on that. So now I'll do my expected update here. As of Friday, more than 115,000 donors have contributed $483 million to the University of Washington. These numbers are a little squishy. They're squishy because we're going through a database conversion, and as I noted earlier, and so we'll have more, we'll have numbers that we can do that are a little more I don't want to say accurate because that's a terrible thing for the president of the foundation to say, but when we have the full, after we've gone through that database conversion, we'll have more to share. But also, in all honesty, because the Hutch, we have a new strong partnership with the Hutch, as you know, which is amazing. All of the Hutch revenue that's coming in our shared partnership isn't in there yet. So that's why I shared that with you, and just to be transparent about that complicated partnership. We're working hard at it, but that funding is still coming. As Patrick said, we just finished Husky Giving Day, and I want to close by giving just a couple points about endowed contributions to endowments. Many of you continue to contribute to endowments, so important for the future of our university. Those gifts are incredible, and we have a couple that I just want to highlight here because they've come in recently, and they're touching. The Junior Coffee Memorial Endowment for Husky Football, I don't know if I saw Shannon earlier, I think she's here, was established by a group of friends in memory of Junior Coffee, who was a 3-time all-conference selection and was tabbed for Honorable Mention All-American in 3 seasons. The fund provides flexible funding for the football program for unmet needs. You know, this is a challenging time in athletics, very interesting time with NIL and other things, and these kinds of programs, there you are, Shannon, hi. These kinds of programs, this kind of funding is super meaningful today, so noting that, and what a special way to honor Junior Coffee. It's wonderful. The Rosalind Schussler Endowed Memorial Student Support Fund provides broad-based support for undergraduate students in the Department of Urban Design and Planning within the College of Built Environments. This fund honors the first program manager, staff person, in the community environment and planning, and continues her commitment to helping students and future leaders thrive over the course of college careers and beyond. I really love that the staff person made such a difference in the lives of students, and that she was honored in this way. That's wonderful. And finally, Patrick is an amazing chair of our board. He's so great to work with. He's a workhorse. He's always out there on behalf of the Huskies. And one of the things he does that I know none of you know about is that he offers airtime on Root Sports and I think is it other stations too? I only watch Root Sports because of the Mariners. I love the Mariners. Sorry, thank you. A large DMA, amazing contribution that airs during our campaign. We ran a lot of Boundless spots. And there's a spot running right now that Patrick he's providing for us about population health. And I thought it was a nice way to close out this section, and also to thank Patrick, because I think there are unseen things that many of you do, and I want Patrick to be seen for this. So thank you, Patrick.
Imagine a future where everyone has clean air and water, where all new parents can have safer pregnancies, and racism isn't a barrier to surviving a pandemic. Learn how the University of Washington is addressing the factors that impact how long and how well we live, from climate change to healthcare access to equity for all. Visit uw.edu/populationhealth.
Thank you, Mary. Don't forget, Friday night, Root Sports, Game 6, Kraken versus the Avalanche. I got my own plug-in, right? It's a good trade. Next, I'd like to call up Dixie Wilson, who's going to introduce the segment on computational ophthalmology. And let's give her a hand. Come on.
Thank you, Patrick. Good afternoon. We are at a unique point in history where our ability to access and understand large data sets through machine learning is creating new opportunities in healthcare. We've all heard the phrase that the eyes are a window to the soul. As you will hear from our next speakers, the advances in machine learning are also making them a window into disease processes in the body. At the Corrales-Johnson Retina Center, which is part of the UW Medicine Department of Ophthalmology, the husband and wife research team, Dr. Aaron Lee and Dr. Cecilia Lee, have been analyzing the data of millions of patients and making discoveries that had never been noticed before at the clinical level. As leaders in this new field called computational ophthalmology, they are pioneering non-invasive ways to identify disease or disease risk, as well as illuminating inequities in healthcare and developing possible solutions to reduce or eliminate those inequities. Today, Dr. Russell Van Gelderd, who's the chair of the UW Medicine Department of Ophthalmology, will be talking with Drs. Aaron Lee and Cecilia Lee about this exciting field and its potential to reduce blindness and other diseases. Please join me in welcoming Drs. Van Gelderd, Aaron, and Cecily Lee.
Thank you so much, Dixie, and thanks to the board for having us here today. It's really a privilege, a pleasure, and an honor to come before you and share a little bit of the research that we're doing. I want to start with just a little bit of background because it's, I think, a little insight into some of the joys of academia. I met Aaron when he was a second-year medical student at Washington University about 17 years ago, and I was a junior faculty at the time. And Aaron spent a year in my lab in collaboration with one of our other colleagues doing research as a medical student, which I think whet some of his appetite to continue to do research in his career. Now, tonight is the NFL draft, and I hate to compete against that, and so hopefully we'll get you all home to watch the draft. But we don't have a draft in academics. We have to do it the old-fashioned way, like baseball scouts used to, and identify great players on the sandlot and then try to bring them into our teams. And Aaron was clearly someone who I wanted to bring onto our team. So when I relocated in 2008 to University of Washington, Aaron and I stayed in touch and we continued to collaborate together. And I was able to recruit him to our faculty in 2014. But in the meantime, at a meeting, believe it or not, for resident clinical research in Los Angeles, Aaron met Cecilia, who at the time was a resident in ophthalmology at Emory. And I touched base with Aaron, and Aaron said, "Do you think you can recruit two of us?" I said, "I would love to." And so I was able to bring both Aaron and Cecilia here. In their 8 years on faculty, they have been phenomenally productive. They've published between them over 150 papers, many in the top-tier medical journals. Both have ascended the academic ranks very rapidly. Aaron holds the C. Dan and Irene Hunter Professorship in our department, and Cecilia holds the Chlorophine Family Chair in our department. Together, they have grants totaling over $50 million from the NIH, and that has catapulted University of Washington now among the 114 ophthalmology departments in the country to number 3 in total NIH funding, and it's catapulted University of Washington to number 2 among all universities in National Eye Institute funding. So UW is a powerhouse of vision research, thanks to Aaron, Cecilia, and our other colleagues who are doing similarly excellent work. So to jump in, there's a lot of discussion, and we heard it earlier today with ChatGPT about machine learning and artificial intelligence. So Aaron, what is big data?
Yeah, so that's a great question. And, the definition of this seems to be changing, on a daily basis. But what we used to tell people is it was anytime a data set was too big to put into an Excel sheet, then it was big data. It's sort of a remarkable time that we live in medicine. It wasn't that long ago when everybody was scribbling things down on sheets of paper and storing them in these huge libraries of medical records. And now almost everything is completely digitized. So every piece of information about your heart rate, your blood pressure, all that information is being encoded and stored in a digital fashion. And really now on a daily basis, there's mountains and mountains of data being generated that has really, we've only begun to really start to harness the insights that we can gain from that. And I think this is what makes this era of science so exciting.
So, Cecilia, why, if I were to play password with you and say computational, I don't think your first answer would be ophthalmology, right? So why is the eye so uniquely suited to this type of research?
Thanks, Chris. And I think it's because the generation of the data on the eye is the most prolific of any organ or any other system in the body. First, we have data from more people than ever, because we have access to the data sets that one of the world's largest data sets ever. And second, we have most data from a person than ever. So to kind of make the point there, of course, there you go. Okay. So for example, if we bring somebody in and then we take photos of the eye, then the top center photo is the back of the photo of the back of the eye, where you can see the optic nerve, which is a circle part, and you can see the arteries and veins that are supplying to retina. This is an example of a person with diabetes, and there's that to the right, you can see the AI algorithm actually detecting all the little abnormalities that are visible in that photo. But what is even more remarkable is that if you take a look at the bottom center photo, that's a work of Ricky Wang from our department, where we can actually detect blood flow of all the vessels, arteries and veins, and tiniest little vessels in the retina. So imagine how much we can actually tell in terms of blood flow abnormalities that might not be even detectable at other diseases. The bottom right photo is the work of Ram Sivishan from our department, where he can stimulate one single cell of the retina that is responsible for our vision using a technique called adaptive optics. So by us being able to really gather information from more people than ever and more information than ever from a patient, really it enables to develop just unparalleled resource of the data set, and then that allows us to leverage machine learning and AI techniques to really study the eye as a window to our health.
So as Dixie said, I think the eye has been called the window to the soul, but in reality, it's the window to the brain and to the vascular system and many other parts of our general health. So Aaron, can you give some examples of how these gigabytes of data that we can acquire just by scanning someone's retina can tell us information when it's paired to artificial intelligence?
Sure. So one of the really amazing and shocking pieces of work that occurred in our field was this paper where they showed that taking just a normal image of somebody's retina, they could detect and quantify, their exact blood pressure, their body mass index, their age, and even their gender. The biologic sex, actually. So one of the amazing things about that particular result was that us as eye doctors had been spending centuries looking at people's eyes. And we never knew that just by looking at somebody's eyes that you would actually be able to tell somebody's biologic sex. So these deep learning algorithms and models are actually able to pull out new associations and uncover new discoveries in medicine in a way that was completely impossible before. And that's what's really, really exciting about this time.
Right, so clearly there's a huge amount of information embedded in just the appearance of our retinas that can tell us a lot about our health. Can it tell us a lot about disease? So Cecilia, what examples can you provide for how this approach can provide insight into other diseases?
Yeah, so let me give you an example. So these are some of the photos of diseased retina. So to the left is the age-related macular degeneration, or AMD. The center is the glaucoma, and to the right is the diabetic retinopathy photos. And imagine if I could tell you, just by looking at your retina, if you have these conditions, I can tell you that your risk of developing Alzheimer's disease is 50 to 60% higher than anybody else that does not have this eye disease. The risk is so high that it's comparable to somebody having the most well-known or the highest genetic risk factor for Alzheimer's disease. So what this tells us is that actually this remarkable discovery is the lowest hanging bar in terms of what we are able to predict by just looking at the eyes. So imagine if we are able to extract all the information that is available from the retina, how much more and how much better could we do to understand our health and predict other diseases?
Right, I think you can all appreciate that if we could predict who is at highest risk for Alzheimer's, for example, for clinical trial development, that would be enormous because you could intervene early before the disease gets going to really see if you can slow that progression. I should also mention that in the same large study, Aaron and Cecilia demonstrated that remarkably having cataract surgery is protective against developing Alzheimer's disease. And some of you may have read that got quite a bit of press, including a New York Times story about it last year. So Alzheimer's is clearly one area where we can make progress. Aaron, where do you see this going in other diseases?
Yeah, so there was a really important initiative that the NIH released, this program was called Bridge to AI, and the reason why the NIH released this program was they saw a critical lack of data sets that were available to do AI research ethically. One of the problems with a lot of AI research in medicine today is that they're using data sets that have been sourced through routine clinical care or retrospective data sets, and they have biases built into them. For example, most of the data sets that we know about come from white people. And so the NIH released this big program called Bridge to AI, and Cecilia and I managed to win one of the 4 data generation projects that was awarded for this program. And what we decided to do was focus on type 2 diabetes. Type 2 diabetes is a disease that affects a lot of Americans, and it really touches almost every part of the human body, and we still don't really understand that disease very well. So in our study, what we're proposing to do is, in about 4,000 people, we're going to collect data on almost every part of the human body that is affected by type 2 diabetes, including retinal photographs of the eye, 12-lead EKGs, genetics, and even activity monitors and continuous glucose monitors. One of the things that was kind of exciting that we did in collaboration with this College of Engineering and Microsoft was we built a small sensor that people could go home with that would actually measure the pollutant levels inside of people's homes. We get a lot of air quality data from the EPA about what's in our atmosphere, but we actually don't know what the air quality is like in people's homes. And so we're really excited about being able to do that. In addition, what we're planning on doing is recruiting a balanced cohort of 1,000 white, 1,000 black, 1,000 Asian American, and 1,000 Hispanic in our cohort to really enforce a diversity built into our data set.
That's fabulous. You're alluding to really how we need a community to do this type of work. So, and I really have to emphasize how phenomenal it is that this award came here to University of Washington. There were hundreds of applications. I have the privilege of serving on the NIH Directors Council of Councils, which sounds like some Hunger Games thing, but it's actually the advisory board to the NIH director. And we vetted this idea about a year and a half ago and approved $150 million for the project. This attracted truly hundreds of high-quality applications from around the country, and we got one of the four, and actually the largest of the four here in Seattle, to lead. So who are the other partners in making this a reality?
So we are leading a consortium of many other universities across the United States. Obviously, we're the best university, so we're leading it. And it is really a very multidisciplinary approach of people who've never truly worked together, fields that are coming together that have never worked together before to try and do this in an ethical fashion. One really important collaboration that we have is with Native Biodata. And this is a group that has been engaging with American Indians to find ways to do biomedical research in a fashion that honors the tribal sovereignties of the American Indian tribes. And of note, the person who leads that, his name is Joe Yatrada. He actually did his terminal degree here at University of Washington. So there's even more sort of profound effects that University of Washington is having.
Wonderful. So Cecilia, can you talk a little bit about the broader community locally here and how this work is really a partnership with our local ecosystem?
Yeah, I think you're kind of alluding to the fact that it takes the village to do this type of research. And we are just extremely fortunate because I think everybody knows that the federal funding really allows the incremental research, but it's really we rely on private donors and philanthropy to really take off our ideas off the ground. For example, the study that we mentioned about the Alzheimer's disease work was really in collaboration with Kaiser Permanente Washington, and then also the Seattle-based study population called ACT Study Population. And I also want to mention our collaboration with Microsoft, which is what really allowed us to submit a tremendous application for Bridge to AI because they allowed us to get their resources for storing our data. And also I want to mention Gates Ventures and our local donors who are continuous supporters to our computational ophthalmology lab.
Wonderful. So the last question is, we're positioning ourselves at UW to really be the leaders in this field, and this is the idea of taking data-rich sources, vetting them rigorously, ensuring that the data sets are of the highest quality, applying really the most rigorous machine learning, and then what's the vision from there? So for both of you, where do we go from here?
Yeah, so I think one of the really important things about our project is that we have the vision to open source the data that we generate. And so this is really a democratization of data that is usually, usually well guarded, and in some ways, the medical research has really sort of incentivized people not to share their data. They want to squeeze every last research paper that they can think of before they might, release that data set to the world. But our project is actually flipped. We're not doing any research on our data other than to make sure that it is rigorously vetted. We hope to and plan to release our data as soon as we generate it for the world. And what we hope to do is really cause a culture shift in the biomedical science field, where data sets become much more accessible, much more open, and will attract the best people from the fields of computer science and for other areas to really dive in to medical data in a fashion that was impossible before.
Right, so I think this will be really transformative in medicine. And Cecilia?
Yeah, and then to kind of add that, really University of Washington really has attracted world-class data scientists and computer scientists and clinical researchers. And really it's our hope and dream that we maintain our leadership position in this field by continuing to support these type of world-class scientists. And I think our work really should continue in terms of looking for not just the eye-related features or biomarkers of Alzheimer's disease or diabetes as mentioned, but this can go much more beyond looking for connections with other neurodegenerative or any brain diseases, such as strokes, or any heart diseases such as heart attack or kidney diseases. And so we're very excited to be part of this program.
Wonderful. So I'd like to thank the board again for the opportunity to present this. In 18 minutes, we can only give you a small taste of all the work that's going on here. We'd love to continue the conversation with any of you who are interested, but thank you so much for your invitation and for your attention.
Thanks very much. What a great presentation. So we've had so much good stuff to talk about today that we're running a little long. Please don't tell Jody Green. No one, she'll get on me. So I'd like to start with our last segment here. Across our 3 campuses, we have nearly 18,000 graduate students paving the way for a better future. Graduate education inspires the innovation and thoughtful leadership needed to solve the challenges we face both here in Washington State and beyond. Today, we're going to hear from 5 students about their research in a 3-minute pitch-style competition called 3-Minute Thesis, or 3MT. These presentations illustrate just some of the ways graduate education impacts the lives of everyone. Here to talk more about 3MT and facilitate the competition is Dr. Joy Williamson-Lott, Dean of the Graduate School. Welcome.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's wonderful to be here, and it's wonderful to see you. I know that we are between you and dinner, but this is totally worth it. Showcasing students, what else could you ask for? So again, I'm Joy Williamson-Lott. I am the Dean of the Graduate School, and I am thrilled to showcase some of the professional development opportunities that we offer for graduate students. This one is the 3MT 3-Minute Thesis. So like I said, it's a professional development opportunity for graduate students, celebrates their exciting capstone experiences, their research. It's presented in collaboration with the UW Library's Research Commons, and the event supports graduate students, their capacity to effectively and simply explain those capstone and dissertation and theses in 3 minutes. That is I told them yesterday when we were practicing that I never had to do it. I'm very grateful for it. I'm a historian. I use lots and lots of words, so 3 minutes would have been a serious issue. But they can do it, they will do it, and they will use words that we will all understand. That's part of what 3-minute thesis requires, that you have to use words, you have to be able to translate your research for a public audience. So a couple of weeks ago, 11 graduate students competed in our 3MT in front of a panel of judges. We also had a live audience, including some people online. Their presentations illustrated why graduate education and graduate students matter. So we know our graduate students are devising all kinds of amazing solutions to old problems, new problems, future problems. And they give me a lot of hope when you'll feel the same way when you hear about the research that these 5 students have been conducting and are very near completing. Some of them are very near graduation. So we have 5 competitors today, the 5 top competitors from the competition that we had, and you will have a chance to vote on your favorite. You have a piece of paper in front of you where there's a QR code. There'll be one up here later. So you will be able to register your opinion. It will be a hard choice, I promise. So without further ado, I am excited to welcome our first competitor, Aether Sharif.
Can you all hear me at the back? Yes? Great. I don't have to yell anymore, so that's lovely. Great. Okay. So this visualization from the Seattle Times kept us all informed about the COVID-19 cases in the Seattle area. It helped us tremendously, especially high-risk individuals such as myself, make really important life decisions about our health, about our finances, and even our family. But there was one demographic that this visualization absolutely did not address: the blind people, for whom this visualization was completely inaccessible. And unfortunately, that is not very different for the other visualizations that are out there. Now, typically, developers would be able to provide a summary of the information contained in this visualization. But let's ask ourselves this question. Does a single summary justify the need of all the blind people that are out there? Roughly about 20 million people in the United States alone. Clearly, the answer is no. So I've dedicated my doctoral work to solve this important problem. First, my work focuses on understanding how these users interact with online data visualizations. What questions do they ask? What information do they look for? And what information do they prefer as responses? With studies over 100 blind users, we have found that due to the inaccessibility of the visualizations, these users extract information about 61% less accurately and spend about 211% more time compared to sighted users. That is just unacceptable. Second, I've built an open source interactive tool called this VoxLens that enables these users to extract information by asking questions verbally in a very natural way. This slide shows an example of how these users can extract the information the way they want and not the ones that has been chosen for them by the developers. Over studies with them over the past few years, we have found that VoxLens has improved their information extraction by 122% and reduced their interaction times by 36%, which is a significant step forward in reducing this digital divide. And on top of that, VoxLens only requires them, the developers, to use a single line of code, which reduces the burden on them. Now, accessibility of online data visualization is part of the larger equity issue that disabled people face in the society today. And the digital divide keeps increasing, and we need to do something about that. Through VoxLens, I want to create an impact on the lives of blind users by making these data visualizations more accessible to them. Because everyone deserves the right to have equal access to the information online, and everyone includes people with disabilities. Thank you.
I should have mentioned that Ather is a PhD candidate in the Paul G. Allen School of Computer Science and Engineering, soon to receive his doctoral degree. So what's next for you?
That's a great question. Right now, I'm working on finishing up a couple of projects that I proposed for my dissertation defense. That takes this work to the next level by giving user agency to the users so they can extract the information in the way they want. But after that, I plan to either be in the academia or in the industry, working in the domain of accessibility, because obviously that's really deeply personal to me. But also I want to change or make a difference in the lives of the demographic that I really proudly represent. I'm not sure what is coming next for me, but I'm really excited for it, even more so because our president's excitement is really contagious. So I'll be taking that today.
Great, thank you.
Thanks so much.
See, I told you it'd be worth it. You've got 4 more presentations to go. They're all as good. Next up, we have Ekta Samani, who's a PhD candidate in mechanical engineering, and her presentation is titled Vision for Safer Recycling, the Promise of Human-Inspired Object Recognition for Robots in Clutter.
Most of us have probably been to the robot-operated cafe or cashierless grocery stores in our city. Despite these marvelous advancements, our recycling facilities still rely on human workers to sort through trash. Did you know that 25% items sent for recycling are actually non-recyclable? This can cause equipment failure, so human workers sort through them. Sorting through someone else's trash is not only unpleasant, but it can also be dangerous due to exposure to hazardous waste or physically damaging items. In 2021, 3.2% sorters reported injuries or illnesses, which is significantly higher than the average. My work is the first step in developing autonomous robotic sorters. So what's the challenge in making robotic trash sorters? The main issue is that trash is inherently disorganized, unlike carefully structured grocery stores. Let's consider the basic yet essential skill of recognizing objects. current object recognition methods for robots rely on learning. A robot trains itself in recognition by repeatedly looking at different placements of objects. Such robots work well in structured environments, but fail to recognize objects in cluttered environments like recycling facilities. This failure is partially because it is impossible to train a robot on all different object placements that may be encountered during deployment. Objects can be trashed in countless ways, right? Instead, I explicitly emulate human object recognition in my robots. Humans compute representations of every object they see. These representations encode information such as object shape and appearance. To recognize any object, they match its representation with those in their memory. In my work, I use computational geometry to obtain object shape and appearance information and build these representations reliably. When objects are partially obscured, humans reason about the hidden portions to recognize them. My approach replicates this reasoning, enabling recognition of objects irrespective of their placement. During tests in cluttered student lounges and labs, my approach achieves 27% higher accuracy than the current best learning-based method. It works well on the trash can in our lab too. The green boxes you see in the pictures on the right are all correctly recognized objects. In the current times, when the role of robots in our society is hotly debated, my work is an example of the potential good robots can bring to our world. Robots can make trash sorting safer. Thank you.
So I'd like to ask you the same question about what's next for you.
In the future, I plan to continue working on this and related research problems to generate more such examples of how robots can make this world a better place. And in the short term, I plan to pursue a postdoc position in related areas.
Wonderful. Congratulations. All right. There will be a little bit of time for questions at the end. So as you're listening to the presentations, if there's something that sparks your curiosity, we'll have a couple minutes for that. Now I'm going to welcome Felicia Watson to the stage, or to the mic. She's a PhD candidate in pathobiology in the Department of Global Health, and her presentation is titled Think Like a Mosquito, Improving Malaria Skin Vaccination.
Over half of the world lives in areas at risk of malaria. Malaria is a parasitic disease that is spread by the deadliest animal on the planet, the mosquito. Malaria infects millions of people every year, but 80% of the deaths occur in children under the age of 5, over 500,000 last year alone. So this is why we urgently need a more effective malaria vaccine. But fortunately, we actually have a highly effective malaria vaccine. It's just not accessible to the people who need it the most. The major limitation is how the vaccine is administered. Most standard vaccines, like the COVID-19 vaccines that we're all now very familiar with, are administered into the muscle of your upper arm. And this is pretty quick and relatively pain-free, but this doesn't work for malaria. Malaria vaccines have to be administered directly into the bloodstream using a process called intravenous or IV delivery. And IV delivery is technically challenging for healthcare workers, it's painful and laborious, and it's also highly intimidating for patients, especially our target population, infants. So if we could standardize the vaccination route, we could greatly improve the accessibility of this already existing vaccine. However, years of research on this have not been successful. But mosquitoes transmit malaria to people through biting you into the skin. So we hypothesized that skin vaccination could be an effective route. Skin vaccination is really simple. It mimics the natural route of malaria exposure by mosquito bite, and the skin is very accessible. And other vaccination strategies have shown that skin vaccination is actually pain-free and dose-sparing. And so through my work, we showed that the key to successful malaria skin vaccination was to mimic a mosquito bite and inject the vaccine in an ultra-low volume in combination with a drug that awakens the immune system. And this strategy was completely protective against malaria using 1/4 of the vaccine dose. And so this means that one vaccine vial could potentially be given to 4 additional people without increasing costs just by switching the administration route. And so we hope that by switching to skin vaccination, we can improve the accessibility of this already existing malaria vaccine, which will contribute to reducing the 240 million malaria infections that occurred last year. And hopefully this will aim to reduce the childhood mortality associated with malaria. Thanks.
I was playing some game with my kids, and we were like, what's the most dangerous animal? And I was like, it's the mosquito. So what's coming up next for you, Felicia?
Yeah, so I'm actually graduating in like 10 days, which is
Right.
very exciting. Yeah. So I'm going to be staying on in my same lab as a postdoc, and we'll be transitioning this project, taking it forward into, we are looking at designing a microneedle patch for this project to make the vaccine even more accessible.
Great. Thank you. I can assure you she's planning to celebrate. I made sure when I asked her, I said, it's anticlimactic, set up your own celebration, and she is. So that's wonderful. All right, next we have Mayuri Binjolkar, who's a PhD candidate in transportation engineering in the Department of Civil and Environmental Engineering. And her title, the title of her presentation is The Future of Cars with Human Driver Sequential Decision Making, an Adaptive Approach.
We all know that when we are driving and approaching a yellow traffic signal, we must slow down. But some of us might choose to suddenly speed up upon seeing this yellow traffic signal, and then after crossing the signal, suddenly slow down. Do you know that the sequence of sudden speeding and then sudden slowing down can put our lives at risk? And do you know that it can put the lives of all the other road users at risk? In 2018 in the United States, there were approximately 2.3 million people injured in vehicle crashes, and a large percent of these crashes were due to bad driving decisions and human error. So based on this motivation, the goal of my dissertation is to understand how people make driving decisions over time. A driver makes approximately 160 driving decisions per mile, and understanding this driver decision-making process can not only help us improve road safety and driver safety, but it has long-term impacts on the future of vehicle automation. So based on this, I've divided my thesis into 3 main parts. The first part examines driver distraction. I then use the results from the first part to develop models of decision-making in the second part. And in the third part, I explore whether I can improve this driver decision-making process. I begin by looking at driver distraction because to truly understand why a driver is making certain decisions at a point in time, it is important to know whether they are distracted or not distracted. I'm developing a new method to measure driver distraction at a more granular scale that uses their head rotation angles inside the vehicle while they are driving. My hypothesis is that by looking at driver distraction beyond just a yes distracted and a no not distracted, I will be better able to understand the driver's state at any given point in time. In the second part, I use real-life driving data and driving simulator data to extract sequences of safety-critical driving decisions. I then use these sequences to develop models of human driver sequential decision-making. I also incorporate other environmental factors into this, such as different types of crosswalks or whether there was a pedestrian at the crosswalk or not. In the third part, I want to examine whether having a continuous loop between the human driver and the vehicle automation system can improve the overall decision-making process, and whether having this continuous exchange of information between the two can improve the driver's decision-making process. Through this research, I want to contribute towards making better transportation infrastructure and help improve the lives of millions of road users. Thank you.
So I expect to see all of us slowing down and stopping at that yellow light from now on. So what's next for you?
So I'm hoping to graduate soon. I've been literally in love with this field for a very long time. And I really see a vision in this interdisciplinary research of transportation, AI, and human behavior. And I want to continue working in that field, whether it's in the industry or the academia.
That's great. Thank you. So please join me in welcoming our final competitor, Megan Mayers, who is a PhD candidate in the M3D program in the Department of Laboratory Medicine and Pathology. The title of her presentation is T Cells in Tuberculosis, Unraveling the Immune Puzzle.
Every 20 seconds, someone dies of tuberculosis. Tuberculosis, or TB, is a bacterial infection killing more people than any other infectious disease, and our only vaccine, called BCG, was developed over 100 years ago. BCG prevents severe TB in infants, but not in adolescents or adults. Thus, there is an urgent need for new vaccines that offer consistent protection over the human lifespan. So what stopped us from doing this for over a century? A major barrier has been our lack of knowledge of how the immune system fights TB. How can we make a better vaccine without knowing what it should do? T cells are a type of white blood cell that can remember previous infections and provide future immunity. And we do know that T cells are needed to fight TB. However, T cells are as diverse as all of you in this room. They can have different jobs, different strengths and weaknesses, and live in different places. So while it's clear that the next TB vaccine must target T cells, it's unclear which type of T cell would be the best to target. One type, the V-delta-1 T cell, shows promise as a target for new TB vaccines. Their job is to patrol tissues like the lungs, where TB infections usually occur. And while a typical T cell can take days to respond to an infection, V-delta-1 T cells can respond within minutes. But despite these advantages, their role during TB is almost entirely unknown. Now, I mentioned that BCG works in some cases, but not others. I use samples from BCG-vaccinated human infants and non-human primate models, 2 cases where BCG does protect against TB, to ask what happens to V-delta-1 T cells after a protective vaccine. And I'm excited to say that in both of these populations, I found evidence that V-delta-1 T cells are helping to fight TB. For instance, after vaccination, V-delta-1 T cells increased their ability to kill infected cells and were better at alerting other immune cells to the infection. And most importantly, these cells accumulated in the lungs, perfectly poised to combat TB bacteria. My research is the first to show that in an immune system primed to fight TB, V-delta-1 T cells could be an important part of this immune response, bringing us one step closer to understanding what the new vaccine should do. TB killed 40 million people in the last 20 years alone, but this pandemic isn't being treated with the level of urgency that it deserves. Research on how T cells fight TB can prevent these deaths. It is essential that we develop a new vaccine that can stop the TB pandemic, and demystifying the role of T cells will be critical in achieving this goal. Thank you.
So Megan, what's next for you?
So I will also continue working in my lab as a postdoc for a few months to finalize my work on this project, and then I will begin looking for positions in industry here in Seattle, where I can continue researching T cells in a way that contributes to human health.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I said earlier how you would be buoyed by these. I mean, this is, I am a little biased because I'm dean of the graduate school, but graduate students are one of the most important engines of this university. We are an R1, a Research 1 institution because of graduate students, especially graduate students like these. So thank you all again. All right, you can now all cast your votes. You can, like I said, you could scan that QR code on the screen. I think it's also on the agenda. There's a URL listed here. I have my team scattered around. They will hand me the envelope and I will disclose. But while you're doing that, are there any questions for any of the graduate students today? Yes, please. Yes. Yes.
So obviously this is probably a nerve-wracking opportunity. So one, great job for even jumping and taking this opportunity. But what actually pushed you to do this? I mean, you've already done the work and the research, but what really pushed you to take this specific opportunity?
To participate in 3MT?
3MT, yeah.
You don't all have to speak, but if somebody's particularly, a couple people.
I can go.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
That's a great question, actually. I feel like we all might have different motivation. But I think, for me, I think it's really important that we talk about disability community and the disabilities, because that is the first thing that gets left behind when we talk about diversity. So I think it's really important for me personally to be able to kind of share the work, but also kind of put a little bit of highlight on the fact that like we have not been talking about disabilities enough. But in this session, I think we have talked about it outside of my presentation, so I'm really happy about that. But generally, I think that's one thing that gets left behind, and that's why I'm here.
Great. Please.
Yeah, I think one of the main motivations for me, and I think many of the other graduate students might agree with me, is that we work on one question or two questions for so long that sometimes I think you might just lose sight of what's actually important. So this really gave me an opportunity to kind of zoom out and really simplify every complicated thing that I thought was really important, but really look at the big picture and really push myself to look at the big picture. So I think that was my main motivation.
Great. Thank you. Any other questions? Yes.
Hi. My question's for Alicia. Lovely research. I'm originally from South Asia, so you can imagine the malaria piece is pretty big. Have you started, have pharmaceuticals shown interest in wanting to produce this, and is the interest truly global, or is it the pharmaceuticals in the affected areas that are most interesting?
This isn't working.
Yeah, that's a really great question. So there's a lot of data from the WHO, the World Health Organization, showing that the return on investment for malaria vaccination is about 40 to 1 right now, and that's probably a vast underestimation as well. So philanthropically, it makes a lot of sense to donate to malaria and to invest in malaria. Unfortunately, because in 1951, malaria was eradicated from the United States, the U.S. has less interest now in supporting malaria efforts, but PATH and the Gates Foundation are definitely huge malaria, big players in the malaria field, as well as the WHO. But I think the biggest problem we face in the malaria field is money, so unfortunately. But we are making progress, and we are working really closely with pharma partners. So.
Thank you.
Yes, I'm walking around. It's not working.
I'm just wondering if there's anything unique about the University of Washington's culture around research that's been especially helpful to you in your studies and pursuing these incredible projects.
I can go first, I guess. So University of Washington publishes the most papers in the area of accessibility than any other university. I think the one that comes really close to us is Carnegie Mellon, and then after that is Microsoft Research. So accessibility, HCI, human-computer interaction at UW is one of the best in the world. Probably one of the biggest communities. So by being here, I think working with such amazing people is just great. And I wouldn't go anywhere else for the work that I do.
Great. I will just say, as the Dean of the Graduate School, we are a very unique and outstanding place in the way that we can support master's and doctoral students on all three campuses. The deep ties we have to community, to doing research that matters, research not just for research's sake, although I do believe in that also, but research that translates into improving people's lives and society and the world. And I think the UW is well positioned to do that. And again, these are amazing ambassadors of that. So now I'm happy to announce our winner. All right. The winner is, yes, drum roll, Felicia Watson. So congratulations to Felicia and to all of our presenters. I hope you enjoyed today's presentations and learned a little bit more about graduate education and the power of graduate students. If after today you are inspired to sponsor a future 3-minute thesis competition, because we do offer cash prizes to students who win, you can reach out to Mitch Helton at the email address there if you're interested. I want to thank Bill Mahoney and the rest of his team. He's the Associate Dean of Student and Postdoctoral Affairs in the Graduate School, for being so instrumental in the 3-minute thesis, and Jay and Mitch, and there's a whole team of faculty, including people from the UW Library's Research Commons, that work with the students before they do their presentations, help them with their the PowerPoint slides, and so that's it. It does take a village. We've heard that before. And lastly, I want to thank all of you for your continued interest in and investment in the University of Washington, and from my vantage point, particularly our graduate students, this research engine that will improve the quality of our lives and the future, my children's lives. It makes me feel better that, like, maybe we'll be able to recycle more. Maybe when my 13-year-old starts to drive, he can be more safe. Right? It's incredibly important work. Thank you for being partners in this. Then I'll turn the mic over back to Patrick.
Well, that wasn't impressive, was it? So thank you to everyone. Congratulations to everyone. That was fantastic. They did teach me a few things about time management. They almost got us back on schedule. We started out about a half an hour behind, and now we're 10 minutes behind. So I want to thank all of our presenters today. Final reminders, we have the Boundless Impact event on May the 2nd. We have the celebration on May 17th. Again, if you're interested in our newly restructured committees, please reach out so we can have a conversation. And then we're bringing back our annual tradition of the board social and dinner, which will follow at 5:30 on the second floor in the South Ballroom here in the hub. And keep your name badges on. Thank you for your time and attention. Apologies to Jody for going 12 minutes over, and we'll see you at the social. Thank you.